Hello, welcome to 48-hour art check, round 99.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, that'll be cool. I believe Kayla has some fun stuff planned for that. We're gonna probably do a lot of marble heavy stuff that episode to celebrate. But yeah, I don't know how Kayla normally does this because I haven't. Yeah. But she's not here right now. So, I'm yeah. She says, without further ado. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the last art check? There we go. Get me pulling up all the stuff. You go first this time because I feel weird being like, haha, me first.
Okay. So since last art check, I found out that everything I've drawn for the past year is gone. So I've tried a few different like recovery things. I tried backing mine up or like recovering my last iCloud backup, which I backed up my Procreate files to the cloud and stuff. And so I tried restarting and recovering my iPad like 4 different times to 4 different backups, all before switching iPads. I tried a bunch of different things and it's gone, which is like really emotional and like really weird because I pretty much exclusively have used Procreate since I got my iPad for Christmas in 2019. So that is pretty intense. And definitely and since I've been restarting, I haven't been able to use Procreate because I've been like, I'm not going to make anything new. I'm just going to try over and over again to like restart. So I haven't created anything on Procreate. So that's happened. I have also decided kind of with that, maybe it might be a good thing. I've also decided to like completely rebrand my business and like I have a lot of ideas like where I want to go with it. So that's really good. I've put a lot of thought into that.
Of all the times for this to happen, this is definitely the most convenient.
Yeah, definitely.
Still sucks.
So it does still suck. Yeah, but I'm like, it's okay. Like I'm trying to like, I don't think it's totally hit me yet, but also like I feel like I'm kind of just dusting myself off. Like there's nothing I can do. Like it happened. Like there's no use crying over it kind of deal. And so I'm just like looking forward and trying to come up with a lot of plans. And I also have planned shoots in Utah this coming weekend. So I mentioned I've been wanting to do some shoots with some of my old photographer friends that I went to school with at BYU, Idaho. And they live in Utah. And one of them is a very, very talented photographer. And I'm doing a shoot with her on Saturday. So her and I rented a studio for an hour in the morning. And then we're going to go to lunch. We're going to go to my friend's house to meet her baby, new dog. And then we're going to go do a shoot maybe by Utah Lake or something.
Nice.
And I'm really excited. She's a very talented photographer. I'll show you guys her Instagram. So like if anyone watches and wants to follow her, they can. But she is really talented and I always feel like I can learn so much from her. And she also is just really fun. And I haven't like been able to work with my photographer friends since they graduated like a semester a year before me. And so it'll be really fun. Her name is Kayla Takalog, and then this is her Instagram. So if anyone sees this and is like, I want to follow her, she's very talented at like portraiture and stuff, like very, very talented at like retouching and stuff. So I'm really excited about that. So I've actually gotten a lot of planning done, like nothing creative, but I'm really excited about the planning I've gotten done. So
cool.
Yeah. How about you?
Well, for me, I always forget to do this. Let me share my screen. I think I did more than I'm showing. Like, I feel like I did more, but here's some mermaids work in progress.
Oh my gosh, I love that one. That first one.
The first one. Thanks. Yeah, I was working on it earlier and I didn't show it last week because the anatomy was messed up and like her hips were all wonky, and so I didn't want to show it. So yeah, I finally started like I fixed it today.
Fixing it. It looks so good.
Thanks. And then I started working on a commission, like sketching. And then
is that the one you were taught? Wait, is it?
It's the tattoo. Yeah.
That's so exciting.
I'm like paralyzed a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then also it's a landscape, and my sketches for landscape, like I don't get detailed with landscape sketches. I do it after the fact, but so I don't know how to sketch this basically because it's all landscape. It's like I have like something that's sufficient for me, but I always do like a step above that to show to a client so that they feel like confident in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. But I've worked with him before, and so I feel, I don't know, who knows. So
that's like somewhat reassuring. Like he knows your style.
He came back to me for another thing to put on his body. So like, yeah. Anyways, we'll see how that goes. But I need to figure that out because I think I have my sketches deadline a week from today, and I don't really like to use all of the time allotted to me.
Yeah.
Like time for if something wrong happens.
Yeah.
So yeah. I did more. Oh, my like mini comic. I did a little bit more research for that and a little bit more writing for that. It's really slow moving right now, the writing phase. I think if I could knock that out, that would be good. I don't know how to end it, which is a problem. So, yeah, that's kind of where I worked on since then, at least today. I can't really remember what I worked on before that. So,
yeah, I know it's hard to remember.
I know. I don't know why, like, last week kind of just got away from me. So,
yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, that's what I did. And then let's see. I have to go back to the Kayla does such a better job at this.
So seamless.
Yeah. Challenges.
Okay.
Talk about yours a little bit.
Yeah. So one is the whole iPad situation. Mine honestly just have not changed like this year, basically, because except for the iPad thing, that's kind of new. But like, I'm just really busy. Like with this new job, it leaves me quite drained. And I also have just been feeling in a bit of a funk, like just creatively, not really knowing like how to create things that are meaningful to me and that also represent me. Like we've mentioned before, like kind of that torn between like creating to sell and creating to like represent who you are and stuff. And so I've been kind of torn between those things, but also like mostly it's just I'm exhausted all the time.
Yeah.
And, between work and like then just like a few other things that are expected of me right now, things have been a bit crazy. And so for me, I think the biggest challenge has just been like dealing with that. And then obviously the iPad stuff is just really hard to be able to keep motivated. And also I genuinely can't create stuff because I've been like working on hoping that it recovers. And I think starting today, I have to just like move forward. So yeah.
Fun stuff. For me, I think I'm giving myself a little bit of like the feeling of accomplishing things by doing things that are actually procrastinating.
Yeah.
So like something I've been doing is like looking at a lot of art videos and resources on YouTube. So watching YouTube, but like learning at the same time, but I'm not doing stuff. I don't know. And then also like, I don't know, I'm still like in that phase of like, I don't know, like the metamorphosis, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's just like, I don't know. Sometimes it's exciting and other times it's draining.
Yeah.
And so there's been a little bit of just like, oh, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing? Or this isn't working or stuff like that. That's kind of like at times bogs you down. But yeah, I mean, otherwise though, I think like I'm starting to really get the hang of having like the days that I'm not at work, having those be full days where doing art. Sometimes I get distracted on Facebook for a while, but like, I don't know. It's been pretty like consistent, or I don't know, the past couple of weeks it's starting to feel that way. So that's a not challenge in that way, but yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's nothing big, you know what I mean? But yeah. So for next time, what are you gonna do?
I am going to work on the rebrand idea that I have for my business. I'm gonna work on narrowing down like a business name. And I'm also going to work on doing some sketching / mood boarding for my branding. That'll be quite a big step because it does require me to like actually take that step and start creating on Procreate fresh slate where I like can never go back, you know, but at the same time I've tried so many times I know I can't recover anything. And so yeah, I'm probably just gonna start like sketching, mood boarding. I want to at least like make some progress and reach out to some friends and get their input on the business name. I have like an idea, but I just don't know exactly how I want to word it and things like that. And so yeah, so I think that's kind of what I want to do. I want to start moving forward with that before Thursday. Cool. If I'm able to, I think I'll be able to make it on Thursday. If I can't make it this Thursday, which I hope I'll be able to, it's our 100th episode.
Yeah.
Then by next Tuesday, I'll also have done 2 huge shoots. So that'll be good.
Cool. For me, I don't know, as per usual on Tuesdays. Get farther on the mermaids. Oh, I need to like work on the commission sketch and show it to my client.
Oh yeah.
I need to do that. So it's gonna happen. Yeah, that one's a for sure. And then mermaids. And then if that doesn't happen, something else will happen. I just don't know what. We'll just see.
Yeah.
So yeah. Before we go to our topic, we should make an announcement that we would like to do some Ask Me Anything AMA videos in the future. So if you would like to ask us questions about us, literally anything, prefer if you guys could direct them to specific people because we might break them up into individuals. Put them in the chat if you're currently in the chat, or put it in a comment in the video, or DM us on Instagram, preferably Instagram. I think that we're the most active on Instagram all across the board. So yeah, just send those over.
They can be about
love to hear them.
Art or about like our lives or just questions for each of us. We also might in the future, we're obviously not going to do it this week because
100th episode.
100th episode. But when we do start, we might create like a form or like a submission form where you can ask them. We might post them on our Instagrams just to try and like make it easier for people to submit questions. But yeah, DMing us or putting it in the comments and just saying this is a question for all of you, or this is a question for Emily or Kylie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That would be great.
We just think it'd be a fun little thing to switch things up and get to know, like kind of do a spotlight on like each of us and get to know us also. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, then let's go to our topic, which I think is a good one for us. Kayla suggested that we do this one.
Yeah.
It's a good one for the both of us for sure. And I think like we're both kind of in the middle of changing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a good time to talk about this
Yeah.
too. But illo styles, we can go anywhere with this, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hand it off to you.
Okay.
I don't know if you have anything to say, but
yeah, so illustration styles. I don't really know. Like, I feel like it's just such a broad topic because it's something that artists like really work towards, and like it's a huge like moment for an artist when they really feel like they have their like illustration style nailed down. I have jumped around literally so much with illustration styles, and I still am like not totally okay. One is like I don't have quite the confidence to like really dip my toe in illustration styles. Like I've tried a little bit when I first got my iPad, but a lot of what I do is very like reference based, like and very safe. But like it's really difficult, and it's also really cool to like watch an artist find their illustration style, I guess. Like when I illustrated that children's book, I really had to like try a bunch of different things. Didn't love the illustration style I picked, but it's just like something that makes you look at something. Like if I see something that Emily drew, I'm like, I know Emily drew that for the most part, just because her style is like very noticeable. And it's like that with a lot of my absolute favorite artists. Like most of the artists that I took all my art into the other room, but most of the artists that I have art from like has such a specific style. And a lot of the time I love their style so much, and that's why I buy their art. And I have like a whole Pinterest board of just illustration styles that I love. It's really like an interesting topic. I'm excited to like hear what you have to say too, because it's hard to like figure out your style and to also like try and create a style that's unique to you, and it's not like just strictly like copying off trends or like other artists and things like that.
Yeah. It's funny because I sometimes just like forget that this is like a thing that gets talked about a lot on like art platforms of like your style, what's your style? How did you find your style? And like can you copy somebody else's style until it's your own, or like all this stuff?
Yeah.
And I forget about that. I started listening to this like comic podcast. It's called Comic Lab, and that was the thing that they talked about. And they were just like, yeah, it's just putting in the work and you find it, you know. But like in they talked about how it's just like there's no magic pill. There's no weight loss pill that just it's put in the work. You'll find
no
it.
Like generator website you can go to or generate your own style.
Like you can do a little bit of like, yeah, I'm gonna trace this, you know, see what I can learn from it. Like, and that's something that I feel like everybody should do if you're like really lost. If you're really lost and you know, or if you really are like super jealous of somebody, you know, like, oh, how do they do this, right? Like you can learn a lot from just, you know, not saying it's your own artwork afterwards, but you know,
or
tracing.
even like posting it and saying like I created this, but just
yeah,
like
exactly.
as a study. Like I remember when we would play, Kayla and Emily and I would play D&D together. We were like creating our own characters, and I drew mine. And I wasn't like crazy about it because I just don't practice my illustration as much as like Emily does. And so I was like, Emily, I want to try drawing my character in the style you draw. And so I got a lot of pointers from her, and she kind of explained to me how like what she goes through process when she's creating a character.
Yeah.
And I drew my character as close to her style as I could. And it wasn't like perfect, and it did not look like she had drawn it, but it was really cool because I kind of got to go out of the box that I just get these blinders on when I'm illustrating. I'm like, this is how I draw a person. And after trying out Emily's style, I never posted it anywhere because it wasn't my style. Like I literally was like looking at different illustrations she had made, like copying different aspects, you know?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but I was like, oh, I feel like I'm like a little bit more loose and free, like with like how like creating a character doesn't have to follow these steps I've been following. They could go this way. On the other side of that, like an Instagram artist I follow and I really respect, she has a very specific style. I love it. It's so cute, so like character-ish. And then another artist that I really love, and I own a lot of her artwork, has a pretty popular style. And I started following her when she was like a couple thousand followers, and now she has like tens of thousands. She's like quite popular. She's a religious artist, and her stuff has been shared by some major religious platforms. And so she's like gained a lot of traction. So this artist that I love, that's more like whimsical, created this piece that was beautiful, but so incredibly like derivative of this other artist.
Oh
And so
no.
when she posted that, I was like, that is so beautiful. And it's going to get a lot of like really positive feedback. Like people are going to want that art. But it was so incredibly similar. Like it was definitely very different, but it had some aspects that were specifically like stylistically similar to this other artist that's gained a lot of traction recently. The trouble is like it's kind of trendy and stuff like that, but at the same time it was like she had definitely like drawn a ton of inspiration from the style, and it wasn't her style that she's like very commonly draws in. Like the faces of the portrait like looked kind of similar to her style, but other than that, like stylely, it was like so similar to this other artist. And there's a difference between like a style just being trendy, and a lot of artists are picking up on it, you know, like kind of like florals are really in, like the whimsical curly text, like lettering and stuff like that, kind of neutral colors, like palettes can like come in and out of style. But you can really tell when an artist is like completely copying and like you know, derivative versus transformative type of deal.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's a really tricky line to walk, but I think it's like one of the most helpful things for me as someone that's not great at illustration is looking at other artists and like completely like copying. Like I'm going to try and draw something that makes it look like this artist created it, and then I don't share it. Like I don't like, I'm like, it's just a study, and it helps me kind of break out of my box, you know?
Yeah. It's so funny because I think like artists who do that think that nobody will notice. And it's really noticeable. Like when somebody like plagiarizes somebody else, it's so easy to spot it. It just takes one person being like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you made this? I thought so and so made this." Or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all it takes, and that's all it is, and it's always that. Like it's different when somebody has a similar idea, right? But like,
or there are a lot of artists that have just kind of quite similar styles, you know, that they almost like blend together, especially with trends, like those more trendy artists. But yeah, you can tell, especially if you follow the artist for a while. Like this particular artist, I'd followed her for also years, and I'd seen her style, and when she posted it, I literally thought it was the other artist that had
oh my
posted
gosh.
it. And I like messaged her because I really respect her and I know she's a great artist. And so I messaged her with like my thoughts and concerns, and she was like, I've actually had a few other people reach out, like that wasn't my intention. And then I also messaged the artist that looked like it was copied off of, and I've had some really good conversations with her too. I respect her so much. She bought the book that my little sister wrote, and I illustrated it. So I'm like so intimidated by that. She's incredible. So I messaged both of them, had conversations going with both of them, and I was like, I just like want to be transparent, and like I don't want to attack this artist. And the other artist had no intention of attacking. They had like a really good conversation, and I think what was kind of come up is like the one artist said, I worked really hard on like creating this. I understand it was inspiration for your piece, but I feel like a lot of the stuff that I just like worked really hard to develop was just like copied. And so the other artist decided to sell this print, but after she had like made some alterations where she had like changed the pieces that were very derivative, you know, and stuff. And so like a lot of times it's not the intention of artists, and like in fact you can see a piece and like be inspired by it and then forget that you saw that piece and that you're like that it's like playing in the back of your mind as you're like illustrating. So it is tricky, but copyright's important.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Don't copy people. Copy people for lessons, and then end it at that. And if you couldn't think of a different way to include other things in it, then don't do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been like, as I've started like reading more comics and like getting just more into it, like I can feel like things expanding and it's uncomfortable. But like I've been looking at so much more stuff and just figuring out, well, like how could I apply that or something? Because like in comics, there's a lot of like perfectly anatomically correct, especially with like faces. Mine aren't like facially anatomically correct. Like, I mean, I don't know how do you say anatomically correct for your face, but like my eyes are bigger and like things are a little bit more squished down, even for like more masculine faces, you know. And so like I'm in this phase right now of being like, how do I integrate things that are like really specific, like detailed, like, and I only ever see it on like correct proportioned faces into my style because I like how I draw my faces, you know. Yeah, I have a ton of artists pulled up that I like, so we can look at, well, let's see, because I don't know. I have a million tabs up. Let's see. Okay, this is specifically I showed this comic on our last thing. Let me pull it up. There it is. Okay. I brought this up last art check, like this comic. But I love this style. And it's like the first like comic, and this is like it's for your phone, so it's not a like comic. It's not like on paper. It's you scroll through it. But like I love the style, and it's like the first thing that I've seen where it's like the style is like very similar to, she's got like lots of fan art that she shared, but this is like her stuff. Where it's just like it looks like something I would draw, right? Like, I mean, obviously like the style is very different and like the coloring is very different, but
it has similarities.
Yeah, like something that like just made me so happy was that like there's lines there, right? Like line art is a huge part of comics. Like, but I don't like doing that. I don't like it. And so like I don't want to contain everything into this, and she doesn't do that. She uses lines, especially for her faces, to like get the expression out, because like that, I think that's what you gain from that is you get really expressive characters. But the outer shapes are not like contained in a line, and that makes me happy. Also all the texture, like you just don't see that so much in comics. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that is so cool.
It's beautiful.
It's almost like, you know, in college at BYU Idaho, as a visual communication student, we did a lot of reverse engineering projects where you would find like a visual art and some like that followed some principle or something that you liked, and then you would just like write what you think the artist, like you have to like kind of reverse engineer, figure out how the artist engineered this and like what their purpose was behind everything. You know? And I feel like that was a really valuable lesson, because when it comes to like looking at illustration styles, that's what I would do too. Like I was just looking at one of my Pinterest boards. I have a lot of like Pinterest boards just like with art that like I'm like, that's amazing. I would love to have art that has that kind of feeling to it, you know? And then I'll look at it and be like, what do I like about this? Like what stands out? What's kind of sets it apart from other illustration styles? A lot of times it's like texture, and I'm horrible at incorporating texture into my like illustrations. It scares me a lot.
Texture?
Yeah, like I just I'm so much, because I started off with Illustrator. Like that's where I did all my illustrations for the longest time. And I just created out of blocks of color. And so like I was just comfortable like layering blocks of color, but I never used texture when I was using Adobe Illustrator. So
Yeah.
now using Procreate, like I've started kind of branching out, and I actually use texture quite a bit, but I kind of stay in like these little boxes. And so I like will look at illustrations that I like. Let me see if I can find some. And I'm like, okay, what makes that interesting? What makes it different? Also, like, what does it have that my art doesn't have? Not in like a beat up my art type of way, but just like, what is a box that I've put my art in that this has like broken out of? And like, how do I break out of it? And it's not like, how do I create something that looks just like this? But it's like, how can I use this to like kind of inspire me and also like, yeah, like expand my mind, like you were talking about, like you kind of do. And I think that kind of goes back to like reverse engineering these things, or like looking at that comic, that webtoon comic, and being like, okay, so like they use lines to do comics, but they do it in a way that I could also do, where it's not like confining all the color, it's not confining all these things, but it's still like definitely like uses the lines in the way that it needs to for comics, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's like honestly that's how my style has shifted over the few years. It's been I found something, and maybe I wasn't like blown away by their art style, and I don't think like they're amazing, but I really
Yeah.
like one aspect of it.
Yeah.
And so I went with that. I was just like, oh, you know what? I love what they do with eyelashes.
Yeah.
I should do eyelashes like that. And then you just integrate this tiny thing.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
it's
kind
not
of
copying, it's just being
no.
inspired.
And it's kind of just like trying things out, but as you go, like certain things are gonna stick. And they're gonna stick, and then they're gonna stick in a way that you prefer to do them. So
Yeah.
there it is, you know?
And you know, this is kind of like a funny example, but I feel like it's metaphorical, like when it's compared to art. So like when I was in middle school, high school, I was kind of obsessed with having like a better like handwriting. I really enjoyed, and this kind of went into like now I really love hand lettering and stuff,
Mhm.
and I'm passionate about it. And I think it all started from back when I like always wanted my handwriting to be nice, but my handwriting was always changing. And what I would do is like I almost had like different fonts I would write into. I still do. Like I have like my more sloppy cursive font. I have like my more straight font, my faster font and things like that. But what I would do is I would like write a certain way, very neat, and then I'd be in class and I'd see how one girl like writes the letter A or G or something, and I'd be like, that's how I want to write that letter. And so I would just change that letter. And like I would do that a lot, like middle school, high school. Eventually I kind of just like scratch that, you know, but for a
Mhm.
long time that's like what I did. And I never was like, I want to write just like them, you know, maybe sometimes, but for the most part I would just be like, oh, I never thought about being able to write the letter G like that. There was a while when I wrote the letter G, like I'm trying to see if I have anything in here that's in the font, you know, like where it's two circles and then like
Oh
the
my
little
gosh.
triangle. So
Yeah.
I would write the letter G like that for a while because I saw someone else do it and I'm like, that's neat. And so my font, my like lettering was always changing, but it really helped me kind of like think outside the box, and it helped my handwriting always looks so different. Like you go through my journals and it's like so different every year because I was always like, I want to write my letter A like that. But it kind of like it kind of can just be translated to art, you know, just like you see something you like that another artist does, and there's a difference between like, oh, I love that entire style, I'm gonna do everything like that, and like, huh, I never thought how you could do eyelashes like that. Or I saw like this style where people, here, let me see if I can find an example actually. Oh, okay, this is like this girl kind of does it. So this illustrator, like with the hair is mostly just a shape, but then they would do like the
Little
like
streaks.
little strands just on the outside. And I actually have a lot of different artists as examples that like did that in different ways. This artist also,
Mhm.
it's like gonna be hard
I
to
do
see.
that.
Yeah, and so I started doing that because, and it wasn't like I still did it in my own style, you know, I didn't copy anything else, but I was
Yeah.
like, I like that because my hair is not like just straight straight shape. Like my hair has a lot of like extra texture, and I love people's hair texture, and so I like decided to start incorporating that, you know. So it's, yeah, it's just like picking things and trying them out, and like I think a lot of it just comes to like bursting that box that you like
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. And a lot of it is like tiny stuff like that, where it's
Yeah.
like you didn't really grab it from anybody in particular. You're just like,
Yeah.
that's smart. That's smart. I'll just do something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it like makes you realize like, oh, I didn't even think that you could do that with hair. Like that's not an idea I thought of before, but I like it, you know. And honestly, like half of the illustrations on this board use that like kind of hair thing. And I just hadn't done that before because my style is so like narrow and things. And so I think like a lot of it is just like, it's not even like necessarily copying something. It's just like allowing yourself to be inspired and realize that like lips don't have to be the way you've drawn them. Or like when I like with you, like one thing that made me really like the way I look at color is really different after kind of like seeing you. And I still am not like, I've tried to do like things more like monochromatic and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I still struggle with it a lot, but I always did things so true to color. Like I never stylized my color. I was like, this has to be this exact color, you know? And then since I've become friends with you and I've like looked at your art and loved your art, I'm like, like she does the color in a totally different way. Like, you know, and it's stuff like that. It's like, I never thought color could be like that until you see another artist do it and you're like, that's cool, you know? And it kind of, yeah.
That's funny because I'm like shifting in color right now. Where I'm realizing I'm like, I could have a lot more contrast in my stuff. Or like, yeah, mostly the contrast, I think, because the Cortana thing that I made last time where she had like the phasing. Anyways, like the color of like the blue was here, I can pull it up. It was actually, so to do that effect, I needed to like merge all of my layers and then apply effect to that layer. So
yeah.
Let's see. So this is what like the blue one looks like. Oh, and I froze Procreate, and I don't think it's gonna shoot.
Oh no!
I did that thing. Curse you. And kill the app. Bring it back up. Okay. Right? This was the original one.
Yeah.
And I was just playing with it because I was playing with, you know, all the different layers and trying to different effects. And I did multiply of that layer on the same layer. And I was like, oh, wow, look at that. And it was funny because it was actually more true to the actual coloring of that character.
Yeah.
I was just, and that like blew my mind. Like I see everything through the low contrast filter. Like I think that I thought that was high contrast. Like I thought that was high-ish contrast, at least for me, right? Like I didn't think it was high contrast, but I was just like, yeah, that's significant. She's got dark blue and blue skin. No. And then I hit multiply and I was like, dang. So like all of the colors, I'm like maybe I should saturate a little bit more. That's what I've been thinking of, is not so much, I should make darks darker and lighter colors lighter, but maybe I should saturate more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like this weird, like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Now that I'm here, yeah, maybe I should like color pick some things from, because like, you know, have you ever done a draw this in your style?
Yes, but not that I don't think I've ever finished one, but because I get nervous, I'm like, I'm not as good as them. But yeah, I love those exercises. They're super cool.
Yeah, I've learned a lot from those. What I've learned most of the time is when I color pick, because that's the one thing that I do like grab from it. Like maybe I'll do like a skeleton trace over the figure so I understand the like pose well or something, but then I go over it, like I don't go over that skeleton again, I start again. But like the colors is something that I just color pick from there. And I'm always like, oh, it's this color, this is so bright. Like there's one here, let me see if I can
noticed I was looking at your feed And like one that stuck out to me is like a lot is when you did that Dead Little Roosters or whatever, like the you know, and I was like looking at your feed and I was like, oh what, hold on,
it's deep green.
Yeah, I was like, everything is like very like monochromatic and things, and then this has like so many different colors, and it's because you like picked it from the photo. Like it wasn't like.
Do you know what's funny though? This was the one time where I didn't color pick.
Really?
But it's really close to the actual reference.
Like I was looking, and it almost looks like there's like a light filter. Over, and then it's kind of similar.
Yeah, but. I think the reason why I didn't was because like I'm kind of jazzed about deep green. And so I was like, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna go find this beautiful color, and so it worked out well.
That's so pretty.
Thank you. But like, let me find one of the ones that was super interesting to me. It's a ways back because let me go find it. Oh my goodness, it's way farther back than I thought it was. I'm still scrolling. But it was, okay. I'll pull up my share Chrome tab. So this was a draw this in your style. And I color picked from it and I was like, wow, this is like I remember being like, the skin is so pink.
Yeah.
Like it's not beige at all. It's pink.
Yeah.
And so like I just remember learning so much. Like, and I don't really actually it's funny because when I do a draw this in your style, like my style shifts a little bit to do that. Like I don't draw eyes that look that geometric.
Yeah.
I should though. That looks awesome.
It's so good.
Like look at how like geometric she looks. I love that. I should totally I'm so glad I revisited this because
and that's what draw this in your style does. It's not it's like the artist is already giving permission for you to like copy their idea.
Yeah.
But you just change it a little bit. And it really does like that's why if I just like I need to practice illustration a little bit more because that's where I get caught up. I'm like, oh, I want to draw on my style, but my style right now is like reference tracing, you know, like or like creating my own references and tracing them or whatever. And so I just like I get nervous. But I think draw this in your style is one of the most like powerful like exercises kind of, you know, just because it really does like make you like that still looks like your style, but it's just a little bit different. It's like you breaking out of your comfort zone and like trying things a little bit like that you normally wouldn't.
Yeah. And like there's some tells with this. Like I drew a nostril. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
And like flat eyes, I usually shade the top of the eyes so like the light doesn't hit the top because your eyelashes are there casting a shadow. And then something so like shape oriented. Like that is like a flow. So pretty. Those are fun things to do. That's like do those. They're the best.
Yeah, I need to. I tell you, like Procreate going away, like I'm gonna use this as like my sign. Like I no longer have all my old illustrations. Like I can't just like keep going with that style. I don't even like I want to use it to kind of push myself a little bit and like try something new and start fresh. Like but it is scary, but I think it all starts with like not doing a lot of posting. Like it starts with a lot of like exercises and just like practicing on your own. Like it'll be me cooped up in a room pulling all these different things that I like on Pinterest and being like, hey, I'm gonna try and draw myself. I actually do myself a lot, so I'll do like myself. I've done myself in the avatar style.
This is like a big thing that I used to do, and I would advise people to do it.
I know what my body looks like. I know what my features look like. And so, like I said, I never posted. I actually posted to my copyright highlight on my creative account because I was using it as an example of like when I was talking about like derivative versus like transformative. So I have posted it like once before. But I've shared it on here. But
I remember seeing
So I drew my husband and I in the style, like what we would be on Avatar. He's an earthbender, I'm a waterbender, like that's like what we'd be or whatever. And I really like played around with it, but I used like references, you know, and I was like, what would we look like if we were in this like Avatar style? And it was so fun and like something in my comfort zone. But that's what figuring out your style sometimes is, you know, it's like, okay, I'm going to take all these artists I love and I'm going to try and draw what I would look like if they drew me, you know? And then it's just like breaking down these walls that what you think art has to be or what you think illustration has to be. Like I used to draw people, like every time I draw people in a new style, I think of, oh, I don't have to draw a body head first, then neck and shoulders, then like torso or however you normally draw it. It's like a good way to like break out of that, you know? And I think that's like where it comes from. But like finding your own style is going to be a billion hours doing that and just like really studying other styles and then being like, hey, what do I love? Like, what do I want to keep? Like, how do like what speaks to me, I guess. It's not easy, but like it comes, you know?
Yeah. 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 If you're trying to figure out how to draw stuff specifically in a style, draw yourself, test it out on you. You know what you look like. Like I remember trying things out but not knowing what to do it on, you know, like what to draw with it. Just draw a self-portrait.
Yeah.
Just maybe it doesn't have to be you, but you should always decide, okay, well, if I am going to try stuff out, I should just try it out on X.
Yeah.
Always. And then you just have that like decided, but it's really easy with a self-portrait because you can take literally what you look like and interpret it differently, and you know what you look like really well.
Yeah.
So,
or I remember in one of Corey Kerr's classes, like when he was talking about how to draw, because I just like, I didn't get it. That's something I did not understand. I was like, I get it. I get design. I get art. Love it. But I don't get how people stylize things. Like it doesn't, I have such a logical and narrow pea brain that I'm like, okay, bananas look like this and that's the only way to draw a banana. Like that. And I remember a class where he talked about it. He's like, okay, take a wolf, like take a picture of a wolf. Like you can't just like trace this, but like what makes a wolf? Like what are the most like obvious features of a wolf? Like you look at cartoon wolves, that wolf would never live. Like that is not how a body looks, but you can tell it's a wolf because of the snout, because of the way this is that, you know? And it really made me think because I to this day, I'm so bad at drawing things and making them look like the thing they are unless I like draw them exact. Like I'm bad at drawing, like except for like pigs, those are easy because a lot of people cartoon pigs, but like I'm like I don't know how to make a horse look like a horse unless I draw it the perfect horse proportions, you know? But it's all about like, okay, well, what can I exaggerate? Like political cartoonists, you know, like you can tell that they're drawing which president they're drawing because they like find those features that are like stand out and then they just exaggerate them, you know? And so that's like what it comes to with stylization, but it's hard. Like it takes so much practice. And I had to do that with myself. Like one of the first things I broke out of is like hair. I'm like, I do not have hair that's super long, but when I would draw a self-portrait, I would make it long because I have a lot of hair and I just feel like that's something that like is something that I could exaggerate, you know, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it kind of just starts with those types of things, but it's hard. Like, yeah, I think every artist struggles with something. For me, I struggle with a lot. But one huge thing is stylizing things. Like it's not easy, but I think a lot of people just think that an artist wakes up and like you just have always drawn in the style you're drawing in now, but that's not how it is, you know?
Yeah. I also struggle with like that. Like I am trying to get better at drawing dudes.
Yeah.
And sometimes what that means is I am drawing like bit for bit what a guy's face looks like, and it's not in my style at all.
Yeah.
But it's helpful because I'm trying to learn that facial structure that's so much more severe than a woman's. And even like a severe facial structure for a woman looks extremely different than a severe facial structure for a man. So like that I mean, it's a lot of that for me right now of being like, all right, I like this reference. Let's just draw that reference, and maybe I'll draw it a second time to
Yeah.
see what stuck and what didn't stick from what I learned,
Yeah.
or what stuff I'm still not getting on my own. It's rough though, because like it's hard to be like, this isn't matching up with what I do.
Yeah.
How do I
You have
do
to
that?
like start at the basics. Like when you're learning something new, like for me, I've drawn faces a lot in different styles, but I'm like so incredibly terrible at bodies just because I do not get anatomy at all. Like
You need to do gesture drawings.
I know. And like I just pulled up one of my Pinterest boards. It's called Learning Art. That's like straight up what I
Yeah.
like named it. And it has so many things. And Pinterest is a really great resource for this. Like there are just so many pins like this, like do this, not this when it comes to like collarbones. And like a lot of this is anatomy based because that's what I'm really bad at. Like I'm really bad at breaking out of that. And I just think of like, I was an art major before I was a communication major. And a lot of what you like think about is like artists, like even like the artists you think of that are the most styled, like stylized, like Picasso and like Van Gogh, like they didn't start drawing like swirly shapes or abstract cubism. Like they started like being an apprentice, like following a master, like we're like line for line, having to learn like the very classic like style and drawing a cow anatomically correct, and then their style came from that. And I think a lot of people don't like realize that when it comes to like illustration style is like no one starts like just like, oh, I'm gonna draw these people a little bit more blocky, or I'm gonna draw this skin pink. I'm not gonna go for beige. Like I think everyone starts with skin color, like, and then people like branch out. Like you have to learn the basics. Like I can't just be like, I'm really bad at drawing like bodies, and so I'm just gonna try a new style because it's not gonna look good unless I learn how a skeleton works and how like a figure works. And that's what I like need to start with in order to like understand the concept and then move forward. And it's frustrating, but that's like why art is so cool. It's not like that simple,
Yeah. You need to do some gesture drawings. You learn so much in just like one session.
Yeah.
I remember like I'm still really struggling with like faces, but like anatomy of a guy, I'm way less afraid of it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so helpful because it forces you to start drawing now and you only have 60 seconds or whatever. And if you mess up, that's okay. There's going to be another picture afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get like warmed up as you go. But yeah, I'm with you at that spot because we didn't go to art school. We graduated in communications.
Yeah.
And so
we didn't have like countless classes like with figure drawing and stuff.
Yeah, nobody's there to tell us, hey, you need to go back to the basics because you don't know how to draw this.
Yeah.
You're doing this style because you don't know how to draw this. Because that has always been what I've done. And I've gotten better and better and better at things, but it still doesn't take away the fact that the stuff that I don't draw that often, it's because I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
So Bruno needs to not be right.
Yeah,
I think about to sabotage.
Hi, Bruno. My friend, she was my roommate, and now she's one of my best friends. And she has she works in a greenhouse. She got like a biology type degree. Now she works in like a greenhouse, but she is like has a passion for art and is so good at it. Like I'm the artist that like went to like got an art degree and stuff, and she like got a biology degree, and she's like 8 billion times more like raw talent than me. Like she got Procreate, sent me like a thing, and I was like, that's incredible. Like people would buy that on Etsy. I'll have to send you some of her stuff. Like she's so good, and she's always been really good at that. Like she's so creative. And anyway, kind of weird backstory, but her and she bought she went to one of those lost and found sales that they had on campus at BYU Idaho, and she bought this sketchbook that she found, and she tried forever to find the owner of it, because this person's sketchbook, they're definitely an artist. They tried so many different things. They had these comic characters in it, and it was so cool to look at. And this person, it would have pages of figure drawings. And then one time they wrote, "What are ribs?" And then the next 5 pages were just them trying to figure out the anatomy of a rib cage, and stuff, and how it works in a body. And it was so cool because not every artist writes their actual thoughts as they're doing that.
I don't.
It was so cool to really dive in and be wow, this person you could see them working and improving, and it was something they're passionate about. This clearly wasn't a homework assignment sketchbook, it was just a passion project. But yeah, it was these people, and they were scribbling and really frustrated with the torso, and then they were "What are rib cages?" And then they studied it, and then their drawings got better. I'm it's just, it was cool to see, because I'm hey, that's what art is. It's not you're just really good at it. It's practice, and it's figuring things out.
Yeah. I need to start drawing more in sketchbooks. I'm also feeling it. this little feeling of, you should draw in a sketchbook, and it's getting more and more prolific. It keeps popping up more and being see.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's one of those moments where I need to draw in a sketchbook. But there was one girl who was trying to learn how to draw stuff better. I don't know. She wasn't a big drawer.
Mm-hmm.
And so she wanted to get better. And I'm pretty sure it was Corey Kerr that told her draw 100 of one thing.
Yeah.
And so she drew 100 donuts.
Yeah. I remember.
And then she finished that, and she did 100 noses. And she was I wasn't really getting it for the first bit, but this is awesome. And I'm learning all these different ways to study. The noses was really interesting because there's all these different kinds of noses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And different ways to draw them.
Yeah.
Let alone and so that's also a great way to do stuff. Yeah. I should just draw 100 men.
That would be so cool, though.
That would be such an endeavor.
Maybe start with 25.
I know. Yeah. I saw this video, and it's funny that you saying that brought that back to me, because yesterday I just watched a video of a guy on YouTube who his art mentor told him to draw 100 things. And that didn't bring it back for me. Look at Bruno giving me romance.
Oh my gosh.
He keeps looking up at my face and being
I've been real tempted to get a cat. And,
he's the best boy.
He really is.
He does this thing where he comes up and smells you, but it looks those memes of get somebody who looks at you the way that this character looks at this character.
Get someone Bruno that looks the way Bruno looks at Emily.
Yeah, he does that with me and Tim all the time. Yeah, he's the cutest of the cute. But this they're Australian, so he was he told me to draw 100, and it was 100 in 100 days. Oh, so it was do one a day, or do more than one a day, but 100 days.
Yeah.
And I forget what they're called. They're called bin birds or something.
Okay.
They look like storks, but they're basically pigeons over there. Or not. Yeah, pigeons are the rats of the air, right? That's what Yeah. Yeah. But they're giant. They've got this, they look kind of like storks. But anyways.
I'm going to look up on that. Because I lived in Australia and I don't even know what you're talking
He was I saw them on the way home the day after that conversation, and they yeah. He's they could be so much more. They're giant. They could fly. Instead, they just eat trash all day, and that spoke to me. And so he started doing like drawings and like comics of them, and he just started drawing so many of them, and like his following grew because of this. And he was
That's
like,
awesome.
I got real tired of drawing these birds, but like something magical happened. So yeah, I don't know. I need to do something like that, or just at the very least, like just need to commit some more to growing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are like exactly at
literally perfectly timed.
Yeah.
Like you said, yeah, and it turned an hour. It was like really perfect.
Wow. Yeah. Well then I feel like unless you have something else to say.
I think that was a good conversation. It was cool to talk about. Now I'm like, I'm excited.
I know. I'm feeling.
Get a sketchbook tomorrow.
I'm feeling the tinglies, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you want to follow Kayla, who wasn't here today, but she's usually the one that's here. This is also her channel.
This is her thing.
Yeah. This is her show. Follow The Comeback Kid. KLD, capital KLD, but it looks like kid, on Instagram and Twitter. If you want to follow Kiley, go to Kiley Creative on Instagram. And then if you want to follow me, Gumminelli, anything across the board is Gumminelli. So if you can't find something on a platform with my name, that's because I'm not there. And then, while you're at it with like checking me out, checking out Kiley and Kayla, hitting the like button and all that stuff, you should also go check out Crimson Owl Comics for 12 months of horror holidays, which would be, it's cool. So yeah, and can't think of anything else. Respond in the chat / in the comments if you have a question for us. I
think we'll be doing Kayla's question first, potentially a week from today. We'll talk to her about the schedule, but she volunteered to be questioned first. So
okay, so if you have questions about Kayla, it can be anything, not even art related stuff.
She'll be in the hot seat first.
Yeah, DM any of
Anyone.
us. Yeah, any of
Just
us
say, this
on
is a
Instagram.
question for Kayla.
Yeah, comment in this video. Yada yada. Cool. Well, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Bye.